Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. I almost walked right past her. That's the part that still messes with me. I was cutting to the mall food court, just killing time, when I noticed a woman in a faded grocery store uniform sitting alone at a corner table. Her sneakers were scuffed, her shoulders slumped, her eyes locked on a handful of loose change like it was a life or death math problem. Then she looked up, and my heart damn near stopped. It was my daughter, Sophia, the same girl who used to show up to brunch in designer sunglasses, the one who drove the SUV her dad, and I helped her by just 2 years earlier. Now she looked like she hadn't slept in days. Cheeks hollow, dark circles carved deep under her eyes, hands shaking as she lifted a small paper cup of coffee. I walked over fast. Sophia? She flinched when she heard my voice. Mom, she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I slid into the chair across from her. What are you doing here? And where's Emma? It was a Wednesday afternoon. Sophia was supposed to be off work. My 4-year-old granddaughter should have been glued to her side. Sophia glanced around like someone might be listening. She's with Richard and his mom. They took her to the park. Something about the way she said it didn't sit right. Okay, I said carefully. Then why are you here counting coins for coffee? She laughed, but it was hollow. Just running errands. Killing time. I looked at her closer. Really looked. She'd lost weight. A lot of it. Her uniform hung loose, like it belonged to someone else. And she kept checking her phone every few seconds, jaw tight, like she was waiting for bad news. Where's your car? I asked. The Highlander? Her eyes dropped to the table. Richard needed it. His truck's been out of commission. For how long? A while, she muttered. And what have you been driving? She hesitated. The bus. It's fine, Mom. Saves money. That cold feeling hit my stomach hard. I reached for her hand. It was freezing. Sophia, talk to me. What's going on? She pulled away instantly. Nothing. Everything's fine. I really have to go. I need to catch the 3:15. She stood up too fast, nearly knocking her chair over. I'll drive you home, I said. No, the word came out sharp. Panicked, then softer. No, really. Please don't. The bus is fine. We stood there surrounded by noise, kids laughing, trays clattering, life happening all around us, while my daughter silently begged me not to dig deeper. But I'd been an attorney for over 30 years. I knew fear when I saw it. Where are you living right now? I asked. Her face froze. What do you mean? Same place. Maple Street. She lied. I could see it in her eyes. So I changed tactics. Sit down, I said, using the voice. I'm buying you lunch. She resisted for a second, then collapsed back into the chair, like she didn't have the energy to fight anymore. While she ate, she devoured the food like someone who hadn't had a real meal in way too long. He's checking up on you, isn't he? I asked quietly, nodding at her phone. She didn't answer. Her silence told me everything. Finally, I said, your father and I didn't raise you to suffer alone. Her chopsticks dropped. Tears filled her eyes. Mom, I can't tell you, she whispered. If I do, everything gets worse. My chest tightened. Worse than this. She broke. They control everything, she sobbed. Richard and his mom. My money, my car, my cards, even where I sleep. And if I don't do exactly what they say, she stopped, they'll take Emma. The food court noise faded. All I could hear was my daughter's fear. They said I'm an unfit mother, she continued, that I work too much, that I can't afford Emma. Diane told me she already has a lawyer lined up. My hands curled into fists under the table. And if I try to leave, Sophia whispered, they'll make sure I never see my daughter again. That was the moment I knew. Someone had crossed a line, and they had no idea who they were dealing with. But what Sophia didn't know yet was that the moment she told me the truth, the clock started ticking. And her husband and mother-in-law were about to make a mistake they could never take back. I took a slow breath and leaned back in my chair. Start from the beginning. I told her, no skipping. No protecting anyone. Sophia wiped her face with the back of her sleeve and nodded. 6 months ago, Richard said he lost his job, she said quietly. Or at least, that's what he told me. I don't even know what's real anymore. That alone set off alarms in my head. He said we needed to tighten our belts, she continued. Then his mom suggested we move in with her temporarily to save money. And the house? I asked. Maple Street. Her lips trembled. They told me it would just be for a few weeks. After we moved out, Richard said the paperwork showed the house was only in his name. I felt my blood pressure spike. And you believed him? I didn't have a choice, she whispered. He had all the documents. And I was exhausted, working doubles, taking care of Emma, trying to keep the peace. I closed my eyes for a second. And the car? I asked. They took that next, she said. Richard said he needed it for interviews. Then Diane decided I was too irresponsible with money. My jaw tightened. Let me guess. She took your credit cards. Sophia nodded. Then my paycheck. Richard said we were opening a joint account. I signed papers without really reading them. Now I can't access anything. How much do you get? I asked. $20 a week, she said. If I'm lucky. $20. My grown daughter, a registered nurse, given an allowance like a child. And if you question it? I asked. She goes through my things, Sophia said. My bag, my locker at work. Once she found $40 I hid, and she didn't let me see Emma for 3 days. My hands shook with rage. Were you sleeping? I asked, already knowing the answer wouldn't be good. She looked down, in the garage. I felt my heart crack. They gave me an air mattress, she continued. A space heater. Diane said until I prove I'm responsible. I don't deserve a room in the house. And Emma? I asked softly. She sleeps upstairs, Sophia said. I only see her when they allow it. I pushed my chair back, so hard it screeched against the floor. My daughter, I said through clenched teeth, is living in a garage while her husband and his mother sleep in beds under the same roof as her child? Sophia nodded, tears streaming down her face. If I fight back, they document everything. Pictures. Notes. Diane says she's building a case to show I abandoned Emma. That was it. That was the moment the switch flipped. Listen to me, I said, lowering my voice. You are not weak. You are being abused. She shook her head. The police said it was a civil issue. They were wrong. I snapped. Then I softened my tone. They didn't see what I see. She grabbed my hand. Mom, I'm scared. She's cruel. She told Emma I don't love her. I swallowed hard. That woman just made the biggest mistake of her life. Sophia looked up. What are you saying? I'm saying you go back there. I said calmly. You act normal. You don't say a word. And you let me handle the rest. Her eyes widened. Mom, no. They'll retaliate. I leaned closer. I spent 3 decades dealing with fraud, forged documents, and people who thought they were smarter than the law. She stared at me. And right now, I continued, your husband and his mother are stacking charges like it's a hobby. But what if they won't, I said firmly, because they don't know what's coming. She squeezed my hand. Please be careful. I gave her a tight smile. Sweetheart, I don't play fair when it comes to my kids. That night, I didn't sleep. I drove by the Maple Street house. There was a for rent sign in the yard. The lights were off. The place was empty. I pulled out my phone and took pictures. A lot of them. Then I drove to Diane's house. Big, fancy, 3-car garage, manicured lawn, and parked down the street. At 7:30 p.m., Richard pulled in Sophia's car. At 8:15, the garage door opened, and that's when I saw her, my daughter, sitting on an air mattress, eating dinner from a paper bag, in a concrete garage. I recorded everything, and then I made a call. James, I said into phone, I need surveillance, starting tomorrow morning, because what I uncovered next wasn't just emotional abuse. It was fraud, forgery, and a paper trail so dirty it could put them behind bars that be why the next morning I was already 3 steps ahead. At 8:02 a.m., I made my first call. Margaret, I said the second she picked up, I need a favor. A big one. Margaret Chin had been my paralegal for 15 years before I retired. Smart, quiet, sharp as a razor. She didn't ask questions she didn't need to. Whose life are we fixing? She asked. My daughter's. That was all it took. By the time we hung up, she had already started pulling property records on the Maple Street house and booked me an emergency appointment with one of the toughest family law attorneys in the county. The second call went to James Rodriguez. James used to be a lawyer too, until he decided he liked catching liars more than arguing with them. Now he was a private investigator with a reputation for finding things people really didn't want found. Morning, Helen, he said. You sound pissed. You have no idea, I replied. I need eyes, cameras, documentation, everything. Who's the target? My daughter's husband and his mother. There was a pause. Then, say less, send me the address. The third call? The bank. I gave him Sophia's name, her maiden name, every detail I could remember. 15 minutes on hold later, I had confirmation. With Sophia's written permission, I could access every transaction tied to her original account. That's when things started getting real ugly. By that evening, Margaret called me back. Helen, she said slowly, you're not going to like this. Try me. The Maple Street house is in both their names. Always has been. I closed my eyes. And the mortgage? Paid off. Wedding gift. No loan. My heart dropped into my stomach. That house has been rented out, Margaret continued, for $3,800 a month. Where's the money going? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. An account solely in Richard's name. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was stupid. That's marital property, I said. He can't do that. Nope, Margaret replied. And it gets worse. The next day, James sent me footage. Diane going through Sophia's belongings in the garage. Audio of her whispering poison into Emma's ear. Your mommy doesn't care about you, Diane said on recording. That's why she lives out here. I felt something inside me go cold. Then the bank records came in. For documents. For forged signatures. One removed Sophia for her own account. Another transferred control of assets. Another altered access to rental income. The fourth? Changed deed authority. Fraud. Forgery. Financial abuse. They hadn't just crossed the line. They bulldozed it. That afternoon, I sat across from Catherine Park. Family law. No nonsense. Killer instinct in a blazer. She flipped through the evidence once. Then twice. Then she smiled. Helen, she said, this is one of the cleanest abuse cases I've seen in years. How fast can you move? I asked. Emergency filing tomorrow, she replied. Custody hearing within a week. I nodded. Do it. When I met Sophia again at the mall, she looked worse. Thinner. Quieter. Like someone barely hanging on. Emma asked me why I don't sleep in her room anymore, she whispered. I reached across the table. That's about to change. Her eyes widened. You found something? I found everything, I said, sliding the folder toward her. And Friday we go to court. She stared at the paperwork, like it was a lifeline. What if they fight back? She asked. I leaned in. Then they lose harder. She took a shaky breath. Mom, thank you. I squeezed her hand. You're not alone anymore. Outside, Richard and Diane were still playing their little power games. Inside, their clock was running out. But what none of us expected was how bold they get when they realize Sophia had a lawyer, and the mistake they made next sealed their fate for good. Friday couldn't come fast enough, but the days leading up to it, pure tension. Sophia went back to Diane's house just like I told her. Head down, mouth shut, playing the role they expected. And that scared me the most, because when people like Richard and Diane feel control slipping, they don't get quieter. They get desperate. On Wednesday night, Sophia called me in tears. She went through my phone. She whispered, Diane. She asked why I've been smiling lately. My jaw clenched. Did you say anything? No, Sophia said, but she told Richard the First was acting suspicious. That was confirmation enough. They knew something was off. James confirmed it the next morning. They're circling, he told me. Richard left work early yesterday. Diane made 3 calls to a lawyer. Too late, I said. They already stepped in it. By Thursday afternoon, Catherine filed the emergency motion. Custody, asset freeze, protective order. When I told Sophia, she just stared at me. Tomorrow, she asked. Tomorrow, I confirmed. You, me, and the truth. She nodded, but her hands were shaking. That night, I barely slept. At 8 a.m. sharp, I picked Sophia up. She was wearing the only professional outfit she had left, a black dress that hung loose on her frame. Catherine had actually smiled when she saw it. Let the judge see what control looks like, she said. In the courthouse hallway, we ran into them. Richard froze when he saw Sophia with an attorney. Diane didn't. What is this nonsense? She snapped. You can't afford a lawyer. Catherine stepped forward smoothly. She can, and she has won. Diane's face went pale. Their lawyer, a young guy, fresh suit, nervous eyes, noticed a thick folder in Catherine's hands. What's in that? He asked. Evidence, Catherine replied. A lot of it. Inside the conference room, everything unraveled fast. Photos of the garage. Videos of Diane rifling through Sophia's belongings. Audio of Emma being manipulated. Bank records. Forged signatures. Hidden rental income. Richard's hand started shaking. Diane tried to interrupt. We were helping her. No, Catherine cut in. You were controlling her. Their lawyer turned to them. Is any of this false? Silence. That was the loudest sound in the room. I suggest you settle, he said quietly. Now. 3 hours later, it was over. Sophia got full custody. Immediate. The house. The car. The money. Back. Richard got supervised visits. Diane got nothing. Not even a phone call. When we walked out of that courthouse, Sophia stopped in the sunlight and just stood there. I'm free, she whispered. I squeezed her shoulder. Yeah, you are. But we weren't done yet, because Emma was still in that house. We had the court order in our hands, and a police escort waiting. But the look on Diane's face when we showed up, that's when reality finally hit her. The police cruiser pulled up first. 2 officers stepped out, calm but firm, the kind of presence that makes bullies suddenly shrink. Diane's front door swung open before we even knocked. What is this? She demanded, eyes flashing. You can't just show up like this. Catherine handed over the court order. Yes, we can, she said coolly. And we are. Diane's hands shook as she read. Richard stood behind her, pale and silent. This is ridiculous. Diane snapped. Emma needs stability. She needs her mother, I replied. And now she has her. Sophia barely breathed as the officers stepped aside and motioned us forward. The moment Emma saw her, she screamed, Mommy! Sophia dropped to her knees, catching her daughter as Emma flew into her arms. I'm taking you home, baby, Sophia whispered, crying. We're safe now. I turned away for a second, because seeing them together nearly broke me. Diane tried one last move. She'll mess her up, she hissed. She's unstable. One officer looked at her. Ma'am, you need to stop talking. That shut her down real quick. We packed Sophia's belongings. It didn't take long. That was the saddest part. Richard finally spoke. Sophia, I didn't mean for this to happen. She didn't even look at him. You let it happen, she said quietly. That's worse. As we drove away, Emma held Sophia's hand like she was afraid to let go. Mommy, she asked softly, do I sleep with you tonight? Yes, Sophia said, voice breaking. Every night. We drove straight to Maple Street. The house was empty. Quiet. Waiting. Emma ran through the rooms, laughing. This is our house? Yes, Sophia said. Forever. That night, Sophia cried for hours. Not from fear. From relief. But freedom isn't the end of the story, because the damage they caused didn't disappear overnight. And the final chapter would prove just how far Sophia had come. The first few weeks were quiet. Too quiet. Sophia kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for angry calls, surprise visits, threats through lawyers. None came. The court order did its job. Emma slept in her own bed again, curled up with her stuffed unicorn, waking up smiling instead of scared. Sophia started cooking real meals, leaving lights on, opening windows, small things that felt huge after months of control. One night, we sat at the kitchen table on Maple Street, sipping tea while Emma slept upstairs. "I don't know how I survived that," Sophia said softly. "You survived because you had to," I replied, "and because you never stopped loving your daughter." She nodded, eyes glossy. I kept thinking maybe I was weak. I shook my head. No, weak people don't endure hell to protect their kids. Therapy helped. A lot. So, did time. Sophia gained back the weight she'd lost. The dark circles faded. She started laughing again, real laughs, the kind that filled a room. At work, she got promoted. Turns out, when someone is being starved, threatened, and monitored, they tend to thrive. Richard completed his parenting classes. According to the supervisor, he was trying. Whether that stuck, time would tell. Diane tried one last stunt, a lawyer letter, demanding grandparent rights. Catherine shut it down with a single response, 3 pages of evidence attached. We never heard from Diane again. 6 months later, Emma turned 5. We threw her party in the backyard under the old oak tree. Balloons, cupcakes, a crooked plastic crown sliding down her curls. Sophia stood next to me, watching her daughter laugh with friends. "I don't need to wish for anything anymore," she said quietly. "I already have everything." I wrapped an arm around her. That day in the mall felt like a lifetime ago. The worn sneakers, the fear, the silence. We didn't just escape. We came home.